All right, what's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name's Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary, with my beautiful wife. Say hi, boo.
Hi everyone, I'm Akdeniz and I'm from Turkey.
Yeah, and today we are reviewing Possessor, a 2020 Canadian film, horror film, sci-fi film, horror action film, murder film,
Wow.
psychological thriller. So many genres get crossed. Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it says like officially it's supposed to be a science fiction psychological horror film.
So three genres in one, and I think it did pretty well.
Yeah.
We we just got finished watching it about 15 minutes ago, and I have to say I was very impressed with the film. It kept me on my toes. I enjoyed it a lot, I would say. But the only thing that I have a problem with is that it left some questions a bit unanswered. It made me feel a bit unsatisfied, and it's not exactly clear in its themes. It's an interesting story, but I feel like maybe some of its themes are so, how can I say this, subtle. Like the themes are so subtle that you would probably have to watch it again on a repeat to catch them because it's not something you would catch on the first time. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I felt the same way. I thought, okay, like probably there are some interesting themes here because this was a like I don't know, interesting movie.
Hmm.
So yeah, but then I don't know, like the ending was good actually, but I don't know. Like you said, some of the themes didn't really like reveal themselves as much as I wanted them to.
Yeah. Like I feel like you would see more of the themes if you actually knew ahead of time what the movie was about, but we went into this movie sort of blind. At least for me, I didn't know what it was about. Did you?
No, I think I just watched like 10 seconds of the trailer and then I was like, okay, this looks good, so let's watch it.
Right. But I'll start off by saying that if anybody is looking for a good psychological thriller, this is definitely one of them. We don't watch that many horror films, but I can say that I'm glad that we watched this one because it is not exactly scary, but it is thought provoking. And it is something that is gory. And I like a good gory horror film because there is a lot of blood, a lot of murder, like clear shot murder. You know what I mean? And not that fantastical murder you might see in like a movie about a haunted house or a ghost or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I liked the gory scenes in this movie, definitely.
Do you
They
feel
were
like
pretty realistic.
did you feel like it was an hour 40 minutes? Because for me, the movie had a good pace and to me there weren't any dull moments. Do you felt like it was dragging at any point?
Maybe in the beginning a little bit, like after she got into the second character, which we will talk about. Maybe in that part, I was like, okay, a little bit, maybe I need some pace, but at the same time, I was still like, intrigued in the movie. It wasn't like, okay, I'm bored now.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to our guy Matt Villainy jumping into the live stream. He's held us down for a couple of film reviews. So shout out to Matt Villainy. And he sent a tweet to me about 2 hours ago saying that we need to review the Nicolas Cage film Pig. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
Well, I love Nicolas Cage. He was like the first actor that I thought was actually like my favorite because he just does horrible horrible films and then great films at the same time and he's a very strange person. Are you a Nicolas Cage fan?
I mean, I don't particularly remember watching him. I'm sure I watched him like in some movie, but yeah, I'm not a big like fan, but I'm not a hater either. I just don't know him that much. I know him more like a meme
have
rather
you
than a movie star.
have you seen any of the National Treasure films?
No.
Oh, those are big back in like the what, late 2000s. It's basically a film about this guy who is trying to like find all these ancient American artifacts. It's like a like Night at the Living Museum too. I don't know if he was in that. Was or is that Robin Williams? I think that's Robin Williams instead. But it's like one of those fantasy big budget action films.
I mean, I'm just looking at his discography now, but I don't think I've ever seen any of these movies, really.
I don't think Nicolas Cage dropped any rap albums. Yeah, I think you mean filmography.
Yeah, sorry. You get what I mean.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he's definitely been in a lot of movies.
A lot of movies, and most of them are pretty bad, but some of them are actually really good. One of my favorite Nicolas Cage films is Weatherman. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
No, it's really good. But Pig is a movie I've been meaning to watch for a long, long time. In fact, I've had that on my list for a long time. So shout out Matt Villainy for sending that over. That will get reviewed. But let's talk about Possessor. So, Acty, tell us who directed this film and who acted in it.
Okay, so the director is Brandon Cronenberg, and he's apparently the son of like this very famous Canadian director and screenwriter, David Cronenberg. But I was checking like also his like movies. I haven't seen any of those. He was also doing like psychological horror, body horror genre when he was like um, directing movies. But yeah, he was like between 75 and 60. Sorry, 75 and 86. Like that's
Mm-hmm,
like his time a little bit. So oldie
mm-hmm,
movies.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, this movie apparently got a lot of like praise and a bunch of awards as well.
All right, all right. And who are the actors in it?
Well, okay, so the main character, Tasia Voss, she is played by Andrea Riseborough, and she's English. And then Colin Tate is played by Christopher Abbott, and I think he's somewhat famous. He's an American actor. I
Mm,
don't know. And then there's Gerder, the I don't know, the boss lady, Jennifer Jason Leigh, John Parse is played by Sean Bean, and yeah, Ava Parse is played by Tuppence Middleton. Yeah,
okay.
so a lot of names that I do not know.
Me neither, but shout out to the actors. I wanted to get the names because I feel like the acting in this movie was very good, very believable. They brought all of their characters to life, and it didn't feel stale. Maybe some people might not like this film because it does have some cringe dialogue, and we're going to cover that when we get to the film and
Yeah,
the
I mean,
story.
there's definitely like not any humor in this movie, which makes it like very disturbing.
Well, there's not any intentional humor because I did
Yeah.
laugh at certain points because the dialogue was a bit bad at certain points. That's what I'll say. But let's get into the story. So we won't be on this live stream long because the story is actually kind of very simple. The movie, I would say, is broken down into three different parts. So the first part of the film, it opens up with this girl in the mirror, and she's very upset. She's crying, and she's putting her fingers in her hair, trying to look for a spot to insert this very sharp needle. And you see this needle pierce her skull, and the butt and the blood pour out. And then she turns the dial up on like some radio signal thing, and she's crying at first. But then the tears stop and her face turns ice cold. She then goes to this very fancy hotel, something like that. And an interesting scene, she's looking at the water, but the water is pouring in reverse, and I think that's her perspective. And then she's led upstairs with a bunch of other like beautiful women, all wearing the same blue jumpsuit outfit. So I think there may be like escorts to some degree. And when the girl gets into the room with all these, looks like a swanky party full of rich movers and shakers, she ends up stabbing this very fat man in the neck multiple times and then stabs him in the belly, and then she says, "Pull me out." And she puts the gun in her mouth, but she can't pull the trigger. She then ends up pointing the gun at the police, who then light her ass up. And then they put one in her head as well. And then when she dies, we see this white woman wake up out of this coma as if like she's in the Matrix. They pull this metal gear off of her face, and she's like gasping for air. And then she has a psychological assessment, and the psychological assessment asks her like, "Do you remember this?" And she says, "This is my father's pipe." Then she says, "This is a butterfly that I killed when I was a teenager, and I felt bad about killing it ever since then." And this other item I don't remember. And the psychologist says, "You passed the test." What did you think about the opening scene? What did you think about all of that?
Yeah, it was very interesting because I was thinking in my head, like, okay, so was this white lady inside of the hostess lady? Like, did she make her kill it, or was it something different? I wasn't. I was trying to understand, and what was the hostess lady like putting in her head? So it's definitely like a good start to the movie because it was intriguing, and I also thought like, okay, the lady who's asking the questions is a psychologist, and that also intrigued me as well. But yeah, it was definitely very like intense and intriguing start to the movie.
Yeah, yeah. When I first saw the black lady, because the first woman that you see on the screen is a black lady, you're like, damn, this is what Mia Culpa should have been, because she looks just like Kelly Rowland, and she's a baddie too. And plus, I was also interested in wondering why the water was pouring in reverse. Like, okay, what is happening? Is this like Minority Report? Like, are they like predicting crimes or seeing crimes as they happened or when they did happen and something like that? And so when the white girl came out of the machine, I was like, okay, what is this thing? So if you turn on this movie and don't know anything about it and just see the first 5 minutes, you'll be like, okay, what is happening here? Because it is actually cool. It does also give me like Matrix vibes. Because if you've ever seen the Matrix, it's very similar to like Neo getting pulled out and he's like gasping for air and stuff like that. So yeah, it gives me a lot of those same sort of feelings as well. And the first joke I made when I first watched this movie with acting, like when we were watching it together last night, and then we finished it this evening, I was like, okay, this is a white woman being black for like for like one day, and she couldn't take it. So that's how I felt. Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. I was thinking about Inception
Mm.
also. It reminded me like because you're in like this one universe and then you go to another life. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was interesting, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, moving on in the story, we find out that the woman, the white woman who is in the machine, her name is Toss. And Toss is telling her boss, the psychologist woman, that she has been talking to her ex husband and she wants to spend time with her ex husband. And the psychologist is kind of disappointed because they have a big contract coming up and they want their star employee, their number one person, whoever that is, because we still don't know who what Toss's job is exactly at the beginning. The boss doesn't want to lose Toss, but Toss is like, please just give me this time to spend time with my family. So Toss ends up going to her ex husband's house, and she's sort of like having to prepare herself to be around her family. She's like practicing the lines, saying, "Oh, honey, nice to see you. Oh, honey, I'm starving," stuff like that. She goes in and sees her husband. Her husband is like a professor at a university talking about his job at uni and how the other professors are kind of like gross and they don't understand his work. She also has a son as well, and her son is like a computer geek. He's playing on a computer and he can make a little robot dance with his programming skills. Toss ends up having sex with her husband, but then is always visualizing the murder she committed, and she's acting very disturbed. Her husband comes to talk to her, and when she looks at her husband, she just sees a hole in his neck from where Toss imagines or remembers when she stabbed the man when she was the black lady at the beginning. What did you think about the scene with Toss and her family?
Yeah, I definitely thought like, okay, Toss wants to see her family, but then she also cannot really like function around her family. Like she has this sort of disturbance in her psychology that is like just yeah, like some sort of PTSD or something, that's taking her back, and yeah, it's making it weird for her to be around them. And I was also trying to understand if the family knew about like her work,
Hmm.
because he was asking her like, how was your travel? And I'm like, okay, so maybe they don't know what she's doing. Maybe I was thinking here, maybe she's like an experiment or some
Hmm.
sort.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, it was definitely like, um yeah, I was thinking like she had some problems, and yeah.
Yeah. When Toss went to her family, I was feeling like, okay, like maybe her job is making her, weird and distant, of course, because her job is maybe killing people, as far as we can understand at the beginning, maybe a little bit as we're taking guesses as the story moves. But it seemed like she had somewhat of a good relationship with her ex husband. Even though they were separated, they were still having sex. When she was hanging out with her son, it didn't seem like she was cold with him or distant, but she did seem bothered by work. But I didn't get any vibe at all that, there was distance between the people in her family life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, after like the dinner ended and she goes up to have intercourse with her husband, and then like after that she comes down and she calls her work and says, "I need to come back to work. I'm ready."
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, like it felt like she wanted to like escape and go back to work again. And
Yeah, a
I don't
little
know, maybe
bit.
she didn't she thought she wanted to be with her family, but she actually didn't enjoy being around them because of what she goes through at work, I guess.
I guess. I mean, I didn't get that vibe. It's not like she was like sitting at the dinner table with them, like looking disturbed or anything. It seemed like she was okay in general. You know what I mean? Matt Villainy just left a comment. He said, I seen Andrea Riceborough in a few films. She was in Oblivion with Tom Cruise. I like Oblivion. Oblivion is a good film. And Jennifer Jason Leigh, I think the first Jennifer Jason Leigh movie I saw was Single White Female, 1992. That's back when Bridget Fonda was still acting. Bridget Fonda is unrecognizable now. I've heard about that film, Single White Female, but I've never seen it. It's a very old film, and I'm not particularly a fan of older films. Well, I'm not a fan of films from the 80s or 70s, just to keep it real with you. But I think Jennifer Jason Leigh was the older psychologist woman, right?
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't a psychologist. I mean, maybe she was a little bit, but she was also like the boss lady
Hmm.
and maybe like her senior, like Tassa's senior,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
in the job.
Yeah, yeah. Matt Villainy also left a comment. He said Jennifer Jason Leigh has aged well, all things considered. Interesting, interesting. Do you think there's any reason why the protagonist and also the boss is a woman? Do you think there's any sort of underlying theme there?
I mean, maybe it can be like if you consider the overall theme of the movie, maybe it might be that now women are more liberated in the workplace, and that's why they might be like more into work
Hmm.
and they might get sucked up into that. And yeah, well, you know how the movie ends, so
Yeah,
they
yeah.
might end up like being disconnected from their family, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I think about film. This story could have been told with male characters, and the story would have still been the same. I would say because it's only incidental that it's women who are the protagonists in this film, right? But I do think by making the main characters women, you might be saying something else. Like you could say, women are more hyper focused on their careers if you interpret the film as people being so dedicated to the careers more than families if you interpret it that way.
Maybe, but also like, if you think of like a killer, you don't automatically think a female because women have been conditioned to, more loving human beings or more understanding and more affectionate, motherly human beings
Hmm.
since the beginning of time.
Hmm.
And maybe with the rise of technology, women are sort of like reaching out to that inhumane, very cold-hearted killer
Hmm.
side of themselves,
Right,
if
right.
that
Like,
makes sense.
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, powerful women have to be more cold and more evil than men sometimes, like Margaret Thatcher, right? Or like Hillary Clinton, or any powerful woman in power. Any powerful woman has to be more cutthroat than a man would be to get the respect they deserve. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's easier for us to think of men, or especially like powerful men, as narcissistic, psychos, and, I don't know, abusers and things like that.
Hmm.
But even when like women are powerful, we don't really assume that about them.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, since we're talking about killers, we might as well just get to it. So the movie sort of explains what Tassa's job is. Basically, she is a hitman, but in the future or right now, because the movie is not clear about the time that this film takes place, uh, Tassa's job is using some sort of brain implant technology where a person's consciousness can be controlled by another person, right? So basically, the big contract that her company has is with this company uh, called Zoothorpe or Zoo something. It's like a big tech company, data mining company.
Yeah.
And the boss's daughter is in love with this guy who is a former coke dealer. And the brother of the girl who is in love with the coke dealer wants her sister and her father dead, so that way he can take over the company. So the idea is for Toss to first watch the couple, the coke dealer whose name is Colin Tate, and the daughter interact. Then the company will kidnap Colin the coke dealer, implant a chip in his brain, and then Toss can jump into his consciousness. And so there's the scene when Colin is kidnapped. They implant the chips, and Toss is transformed into him. And there's a very cool sequence where we see, Toss enter like the sunken place. Everything goes black. She's made of clay. Her body disappears, and Colin's body forms over her body. It's one of the coolest scenes I've seen on film in a long time. But what did you think about, the explanation of Toss's job, how they do their work, what their job, how they make their money, and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it was interesting because I was thinking, okay, maybe this is like some underground, like when they first introduced the company, I was thinking, okay, maybe this is some underground, hitman company that is like trying to rebel against capitalism. But then very quickly I found out, okay, like the only reason that they want to kill them is because the brother wants to inherit the company and the money and all those things. So they're just like sort of pawns
Hmm.
in this transaction. But yeah, and also like you said, that scene where we see like the two of them morph into each other, kind of like Voss's personality melting away and then Colin's coming in. That was
Hmm.
pretty cool, very like psychedelic. And yeah, like it was a bit like visually triggering also, which made it like even better for me because yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely like you could feel the tension and you can sort of feel what Toss was going through in her like mission.
Yeah, if you've ever done ayahuasca and you had an out of body experience, that's exactly what it looks like on film.
That's scary. I'm never doing ayahuasca now.
Ayahuasca's not that bad, but if you've ever had a really good high, if you ever done shrooms, that part of the film was actually as close to shrooms or ayahuasca as you could get. But I thought it was interesting that this is the company she works for and how they make their money. I didn't get the idea that they were going to be like killing the rich and giving to the poor or anything like that. I didn't get that vibe at all. I got the vibe from the very beginning: cold-hearted capitalist company trying to do whatever it takes to make money. I just thought this technology is very interesting because it's very real. I like a good sci-fi film that's based on reality, not like too futuristic stuff. And this is the sort of tech that could exist in the future, where consciousness is transferred or transformed. And yeah, it was also a part of the film where they show that Toss is having trouble, actually leaving the host body, because the way to leave the host body is to kill yourself. But Toss is unable to do that. Like at the beginning of the film, she kills the guy with the knife and is unable to kill herself with the gun. So they're like showing Toss like captures of the time she was in the first host body, and all Toss can see is the blood and the gore and stuff like that. And the psychologist is asking Toss, why do you only remember that? Why do you only remember the blood? What did you think about that part?
I think like I was thinking maybe Toss is such like into her work I felt like maybe the part where she didn't want to like kill the host body and end the mission was almost as if she wanted to like sink in the experience and the masterpiece and the work she created. I
Mm,
felt like she enjoyed it. And that's why, like, I don't know, maybe like she was a bit narcissistic almost, that she didn't want to like end those people's life, and also like kind of her life and her work,
mhm.
and she wanted to just like bask in the glory of that moment.
I see the opposite. I don't think Toss actually really holds glory in her work. I think she is very good at her job, but she's not good at leaving. And this is the part of the film where it's just unclear for me. I don't have any answer as to why Toss didn't want to kill herself the first time or later, as we'll see in the film. There's no real explanation in that, and that's part of the reason why I can't give this film like a really, really high score. It's because of that essence right here. Like we're just sort of left to fill in the blanks on that, and there's no real explanation why Toss didn't feel that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, maybe like my two theories is like either the first one I said, or is that like the fact that she knew her work was just really something really bad, like she was doing really bad things to people,
Hmm. Hmm.
and by using other also people who were innocent. So maybe the also part of the reason why she couldn't kill those people and leave the experience was because she was feeling guilt.
Mm.
So that she was sort of like maybe trying to like feel that guilt longer so that she wouldn't do it again or something, or I don't
Mm.
know, experience like what atrocity that she created. Like it's either, some completely different opposites, but yeah.
I think maybe it might just be a bit more simple. You know, you hear these stories about so and so killed five people, right? Guy walks in and murders his whole family. Woman murders her sister, whatever, and then they have the gun right there, and then they can't kill themselves. You get what I'm saying? Like some people are able to inflict horror upon others, but not upon themselves. So maybe Toss simply doesn't have the ability to commit suicide. So I think that's what it is. You know, I've been very sad. I've been very low before, and I've thought about killing myself, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Even if I was standing at the edge of the building, even if I did have a gun, literal gun to my head, even if I did have the knife on my veins, I couldn't do it. You get what I'm saying? I think it might just be a bit more simple. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, it can be, like you said, we didn't really get an explanation for that, I
Mm,
guess. Or I don't know. Maybe
yeah.
like the ending gave it a little bit of explanation, but we'll discuss that at the end.
Yeah, yeah. So now we're moving into the second part of the film. We've covered the first part. Second part of the film is basically Toss wakes up in the body of Colin, and it's actually kind of a funny scene, maybe unintentionally funny, because she's a very frail, almost albino-looking woman, and now she's in the body of this sort of like a very macho-looking, masculine guy, and she wakes up in the bed, and she's walking around her house, feeling her six pack, and then looks at her dick. What did you think about that scene?
Yeah, that was definitely like the only funny scene like in the movie, where she was sort of curious about, the host.
Hmm.
And also like, yeah, like not only does she get to like go into the bodies and kill people and complete the mission, but she experiences another person's life,
Hmm.
so it must be interesting to wake up and have your mind in another person's body. I would do that too, like whether if I was a woman or a man, I would like look at my tits, grab them, or I don't know, like look at myself and stuff like that.
If you woke up as a man tomorrow, what would be the first thing you would do?
Definitely grab my dick, like scratch my nuts, and then pee standing up. And also, like, I would definitely like have sex with someone.
Wow, that's wild. See, if I was a woman, I would not want to have sex with anybody. Nigga, get off of me. Don't put that in me. Get
Stop.
away. I would not have
A
sex with
woman can
nobody.
have like 8 orgasms. You
I
don't
don't
want to
want.
experience that?
Nope. Nope. It ain't worth it. It ain't
Wow.
worth
So you're
it.
basically saying like women are just like they shouldn't have sex.
No, it's just not for me. I can't imagine anybody picking me up, throwing me around the room. How can anybody
But
smacking my
you're not
booty?
you. You're like you wake up as me. You don't want to have sex with yourself?
If I still remember being a man, no, I don't want to get hit from the back and have my hair pulled.
Wow, you're silly. That's kind of offensive a little bit, but
It's not a
I'll let it pass.
no, it's not offensive in the sense that I'm just very straight and I don't want that happening to me. Just that's all.
Sex is not a bad thing, Simon. It's
It's
okay. Sex as a woman is still good. Like you gotta chill.
I understand, but it's just being too submissive, and I'm not a submissive person like that. Like you
You
can't just
can
lay on top of me and do whatever. No, none of that.
you can be a dominatrix.
Okay, yeah. So I gotta peg dudes. That's the only way I can have sex.
You're silly.
No, I'm gonna be a lesbian. I gotta be. That's just.
Of course, of course.
But see, yeah, I mean, okay. So anyway, Colin wakes up and he's interacting with his girlfriend, the girlfriend that he has to kill later, and she's noticing that he's a bit weird because he's romantic. He ends up kissing her and say, "Oh, you look so beautiful," and and stuff like that. Why was she acting weird when he was just being romantic? Why is that strange?
I don't know because when you have a relationship for so long, sometimes the romance is not always there.
Hmm.
And if one day like your boyfriend wakes up and it's all lovey-dovey, it's weird.
Okay, okay. I think if you wake up and you're very nice with your girl, she's gonna think you cheated. So you might as well just be mean to her all the time.
No, that's not the point I'm trying to make, Simon. Don't give the wrong impressions.
All right, all right. But anyway, she thinks he's weird. Colin ends up going to work, and he works at the place where his girlfriend, uh, where his girlfriend's father owns. Because I guess his future father-in-law got him a job there, but his job is like very very low in this company. So the father's company is data mining, and so Colin's job is basically to look at all the webcams that collect all the data from people all across the world. So if you leave your laptop open, this guy is analyzing your curtains, your sheets, what type of Coca Cola you drink, what type of computer you use, how many times you jack off, people having sex, and stuff like that. Colin also. Is approached by one of his friends at the office and it was like, hey man, guess what, man? I just smashed that girl. Did you smash girls too while you were on that trip? And Colin is like, yeah, of course I did, which is kind of alluding to that Colin is a cheater or a serial cheater, or all of these people are just cheating on their wives and girlfriends and sleeping with the same four people. Uh, and yeah, what did you think about all of that?
Yeah, like Colin going into his work was definitely interesting because obviously like Toss didn't know what to do really.
Hmm.
So he was kind of weird, but then like once he got on that desk and started data mining, I thought, well, like this is a crazy thing to do.
Hmm.
And I also thought this is probably happening now.
Hmm.
Like my TV is freaking watching me.
Hmm.
And I also thought, okay, have my laptop see us having sex before?
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, like all these crazy things in my head, I was thinking, like, yeah, this is like effed up, that big companies do this and then they market you stuff and sell you stuff. And yeah, it's like, yeah, it's inhumane, but that was crazy. And I don't know, like at work at some point after like trying to do the data mining thing, Colin sees like this couple having sex and he gets like nauseous and stuff like that. And I don't know if that was because what like Toss found out that he was doing as a job, and how like disrespectful that was, and that's why like she got all like hazy and nauseous and things like that. But that's how I interpret it, at least.
Yeah, I think that's one way of interpreting it. When I first saw the scene of Colin looking at people having sex, I thought that was him looking at himself having sex with his girlfriend. And he was like, wow, this company is even spying on me. You get what I'm saying? Uh, another that whole thing about data mining and people watching you and collecting data when you don't even expect it, it's interesting, but I feel like it was sort of like left on the table And that's what I feel like this film does a lot with its themes, because there's a lot of good commentary in this film about, you know, the future and what it means to be human, and our consciousness and our ideas and also our privacy as well. But it's sort of just there, and it's not weaved into the fabric of the film. It's just sort of just put on screen for you to see it and just be shocked at it and then let it go. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, definitely. And
Yeah.
yeah, but also additionally, like in this scene, we kind of understand what Colin's life is like.
Hmm.
I would say overall his relationship with his girlfriend is okay, but then like he's also working for his girlfriend's dad's company, and
Hmm.
he basically has like the floor job, which is like
Hmm.
the lowest job you can get. And
Hmm.
even at some point in the movie they compare it to like factory workers,
Yeah,
um,
like in a sweatshop.
yeah, like sweatshop kind of
Hmm.
job. And he's basically like, getting sort of screwed over by his girlfriend's dad
Hmm.
and humiliated by them.
Hmm.
But yeah, like, that's some, like, it gave us a little bit of like what Colin's life was like.
Right,
And then
right.
like he's cheating on the side and he's snorting cocaine and yeah.
I think maybe there is a comparison to make between Toss and Colin, right? Because Colin has like a really shitty job, and Toss has probably a very well paid job. Like, probably Toss gets paid millions of dollars to do what she does. Like, let's keep it real. And yeah, I think maybe that might have been a reason to for Toss to be maybe disconnected with Colin. But also maybe that's a bit of the film giving commentary. You know what I mean? Like, people at the low end of society sort of have to like just, get in where they fit in, and maybe they can get lucky by sleeping with a boss's daughter to get millions of dollars. But, people like Toss, if you have a very special skill, they're able to rise up. But literally rising up is like, using the poor to get ahead, right? Because possibly Toss inhabits the bodies of very poor people, like lowly people, and then uses them to, do her job. So I guess it's parasitic in a way, and I think that's why maybe later Colin calls Toss a parasite, because he's literally using the poor to, do evil things to make more money for herself and her company.
Yeah, definitely. And the sad thing is like Toss is even not like the person who makes the most money, right? Like she's making this other company earn much more than what she earns.
Hmm.
Like the company that she works for. So it's like a big chain of like abuse.
Yeah. But moving on with the story, basically, Colin comes home one day, and he's surrounded by his girlfriend and also her girlfriends, and they're all snorting coke. And Colin is just acting a bit weird, and his friends are like making commentary about his job at the company, that his girlfriend's father is basically abusing him by making him work this lowly job at this data mining company, and all the other people at the company, all of Colin's girlfriends are saying like, yeah, Ava, your dad's father is like sick. I masturbate in front of my computer every day just so your dad's company can see what vibrators I use and stuff like that. And so yeah, Colin goes into the bedroom, and he's like, I'm feeling fine, but Ava is not feeling it and stuff like that. Also, one of Ava's girlfriends is coming on to Colin and saying, "Hey, let's meet up in Chicago and have sex again," and stuff like that. And I was like thinking, like, is this what white women do? Do they just all sleep with each other's boyfriends? Like, is I don't know. What did you think about all of that?
What about white men? Is that what all they do? Like
No, white
sleep
men.
with.
White men get black men to fuck their wives.
Wow, okay. That was harsh. But anyway, he was the one who was screwing around. So let's not put this all on one person.
But would you have girlfriends acting where all they do is sleep with your man?
No, of course not. And like the fucked up thing is that like her friend, Ava's friend, said that Ava was okay with it,
Yeah, it's
which
very
is like
strange.
even, yeah, it's so strange. But I don't know. Yeah, that was like gross.
Yeah, I think once again, I think this film has so many disparate parts. Like, what is the point of all these people in this friend group sleeping with Colin, right? And I think we have to sort of like draw our own conclusions from that. I don't know. Is this film trying to say like our personal relationships don't even matter anymore? There's no true romance. There's no true love and bonds between people because there's no more privacy. So let's just all fuck each other. Is that what the film is trying to say? I don't know.
I mean, maybe like obviously Colin had like a troubled past and a troubled present, and he's working at like this really shitty job, like watching people have nasty sex and then identifying their curtains.
Hmm.
So maybe like that's what he was lacking in his life, like some sort of direction, and
Hmm.
he filled it with like all these things, like coke
Hmm.
and girls and cheating and yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I that's what I think.
Yeah. Well, one more thing I'll say about Colin. Colin might have felt like an emasculated man because his girlfriend was definitely richer than him, more powerful than him. He was staying at her apartment, so maybe like his Ava, his girlfriend, Ava's girlfriends probably thought, oh, this is just a low class guy. He's like a fuck boy. He's like our boy toy. You get what I'm saying? Like in this universe, they could basically just like kind of use this guy because he's like out of the circle. He didn't go to the rich private schools like we did and hang out in our circles. So yeah, like let's just fuck on the poor guy. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that could be it. And her name is Rita, by the way,
Rita,
with
Rita.
two E's.
Okay, sorry. I could have swore it was Ava.
No, her name is Ava. Her friend's name is Rita.
Oh, the friend's name. The friend that was
Yeah.
sleeping with Ava's boyfriend is Rita. Okay, none of that actually matters in the story. Like this is one of the things about the film. Like we have these other storylines happening that actually don't matter that you can get caught up in, but they really don't mean anything.
Yeah, I
So
mean, yeah, sometimes that's why this movie is struggling a bit.
yeah, a bit, a bit. But one thing about Colin, he seems to be fighting back against Toss's control over his mind. So every now and then, these like white dots appear, and Toss has to like grab them in through Colin's body to sort of like bring herself back because Colin is trying to get control over his body over and over again. And there's a scene when Colin is having sex with Ava, his girlfriend, and he's trying to get back in his body. He's trying to get back in control, but Toss is trying to stay in control as well. But the next day, Toss phones the company and says, "I'm in control. I'm ready to do the job." They go to this big mansion party where Ava's father is, and he's the rich man that needs to get killed for Toss to do her job correctly. The father really dislikes Colin because he's a poor guy. He's not from the upper class, and he feels like his daughter is disappointing him. And the company calls Colin and says, "You need to get into a fight with the boss right now." So Colin goes ahead and tells the father, "You need to give me an apology." The father's like, "I'm not giving you an apology," and and Colin says, or Toss says, "I'll have your daughter sucking my cock," or something like that. So then they get into a fight. Colin yells at the father and calls his daughter a bitch. The security guards beat him up and throw him out the house. Then Colin comes back in the house, tries to, intimidate the father by putting a gun on the table. The father gets up and says, "I'm going to sleep." But then he tries to reach for the gun. Colin like steps back and starts beating the father with a fire poker, which has to be getting hit with a fire poker until you die is like top 10 ways to like brutally leave this earth. That's one of the worst ways. And then Ava comes into the room. She screams. She gets shot in the back 2 times. And then Colin stands over her and finishes it. Now, Colin is about to, kill himself. And he's saying, "Let me out." But he can't finish the job because the real Colin in the mind is fighting back. And Toss is like, "What's happening?" And everything just goes crazy. And Toss can't gain control. And Colin takes back control of his own body and he leaves the house. What did you think about all of those scenes?
Yeah, that was definitely very interesting. Like the whole, once again, we see what Colin's life is like when he's at this party. Like the father is constantly mocking him, like very blatantly. And yeah, and the scene where like he kills the father and also Ava, it's very like gory. And like I think at one point he sticks that like fireplace stick into like his throat or something. Like it's very interesting. And to me it feels like once again like Toss is really like good at her job, and she's like really like a cold-blooded killer because he doesn't really like flinch once when he's doing it to other people. But it's also like interesting that he's always like she's always having this trouble when she's about to like shoot the host body. But this time it actually like is something different because I don't know, like maybe I wasn't sure like why um this guy took control over his body or was able to take control, because it didn't happen when with the first black lady.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, maybe she wants him to take over, or maybe she empathized with him too much or something. Like she saw his life.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was like I was thinking why that happened.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I once again, my theory for all of this on why Toss doesn't want to kill herself is that she just can't. She just can't bring herself to the edge of doing it. But like you said, the scene when Colin is killing the father and then kills his girlfriend, it was very gory, very real. I like that about this horror film, that it is actually very realistic and showing the blood and showing the beating and and all of that, like how brutal it is. Like it doesn't hold back on those, and that's what keeps you on your toes while you watch this film. Shout out to the Violator for jumping in here, Nelson Moreno, my guy, as well. Salute to you. Let us know if you've ever seen this film and any horror films that you suggest for us. Should we continue on with the storyline?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so now we've entered like part three of the film, and so basically, Colin is like trying to escape from the law. He is running from whoever is chasing him. So Colin is like walking in the street, trying to hide the blood that he has on his body, and trying to just figure out what the hell is going on. And he gets some new clothes out of a garbage bin, and then ends up showing up at Rita's house. And Rita, for anybody who doesn't remember, is the girl that he is cheating on his girlfriend with. And he opens Rita's door and says, hey, I didn't mean to do it. It was an accident. Me and Ava have been fighting. But Rita is like, what the hell is going on? Rita's like, I'm about to go to Chicago. I'll see you later. But then Colin begs, hey, let me stay here for 2 days, please, please. And so, like, Colin is like at the house, still trying to figure out what's going on, but his mind is warped and crazy. He still is confused, and he ends up taking the gun and killing Rita while she's in the shower, pointing it at her. He's still waiting at the house. Somebody knocks at the door, and it's one of his friends from work, the friend that came to him and said, did you cheat with the girls while we were on the vacation? And his friend is like, hey, man, I heard that you got into an accident. I came here to see you. Are you okay? And Colin is like, yeah, yeah, I'm okay. So the friend is like, hey, make me a drink. And when Colin turns around, his friend like shoots him in the back of the head. Now Colin is on the bed, and he has the plug in his skull, and his friend is like, "Hey, Toss, it's me. I'm your exit. I'm the guy who's collaborating with you. I'm the inside guy. I'm very glad to meet you. I've heard about all your assassination work. It's great to have you here. I'm gonna try to help you get back to who you are, so you can kill yourself and exit the body, right?" Uh, and so he plugs it into Colin's head, but the real Colin comes out and kills kills Toss, which was actually a really interesting scene because like the whole scene goes red. Colin is like on top of on top of Toss as she's laying down on the bed, and like bursts her head like a balloon, and then puts on her face like a horrible mask. And then you see all the scenes that we saw of Toss hanging out with her family and other parts, like as the mask. So like while she's having sex, it's the mask wearing. While she's like killing people, it's the mask. What did you think about all of that?
Yeah, that was definitely like very interesting, all that happened there. And I think like once he escapes the scene, he removes like this chip from his head. So now it's like he can't be controlled by Toss, but Toss is still in his brain.
I don't think
But
he removed the chip. He did not keep remove the chip because later Toss does appear. The chip is in his brain. It just dissolves a few days later.
I don't know, but that's how I interpret it. But anyway, but now like it's like Toss is like having this, fight in Colin's mind, and Colin is able to control himself as Colin a little bit more.
Hmm.
But at certain points, Toss comes out as well. Like I don't know, because we see like Colin pointing a gun at Rita, but
Hmm.
then like we don't actually see him shot her. But
Hmm.
later we find out that he shot her. So
Hmm.
it's like, those are like those moments. It's like he doesn't remember or something, and those are the moments where like Toss comes on or what, I don't know. But yeah, like definitely very interesting, like the mask scene. Cause I was thinking, okay, like what the hell is going on? Like it was definitely interesting how it popped and then he put it on. And it almost feels like all the times where Toss has been like with her family or trying to like continue her normal life or, doing whatever she does, it's like she's not really herself, and she's so like used to this job that he became all the people that she like inhabited before.
Hmm.
And it's like now she doesn't even have sort of like her own character, she
Hmm.
only has like certain memories of her kid and maybe like of her husband, but it's like now she's like detached from herself, and that's just like her face roaming around, and she's very like, I don't know, connected with the job that she's doing.
Hmm. I feel like the mask scene, if you are bought into this movie, if you're buying the film up to this point, you're gonna like that scene. But if you're watching this and you hate this movie after a certain amount of time, but you're still finishing it, this scene might really turn you off. I feel like this scene is 50-50 because the mask is really like kind of cheesy looking. It's like a $5 Halloween mask. It's like the last minute mask you put on when you're going to like a Halloween party or something like that. So yeah, that scene might really, you might really like it or you might hate it. It depends on how you feel about this film, up to that point. Because I did laugh when I saw the mask, and I think both of us said, "What the hell?" I think we both said that when we were watching it, right?
Yeah, I mean the mask is really fake, but I don't think like I it feels a bit intentional that it's fake. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't need to feel like very real because it's just a symbol, and the symbol is that, I don't know, like maybe it's her guilt or she's like too in tune with her work and all of those things, and she's faking all the other stuff. It's like a symbol, so it didn't really bother me that the mask was fake. I was just surprised, like, okay, that her head popped and it turned into a mask, so I was like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, I'd be very interested to see how that scene holds up 20 years from now, cuz you know how you watch a film from the 80s and like it's so fake looking that it sort of like takes you out of the film. I want to know how people feel about this film 20, 30 years from now when they watch it and they see the mask scene, because the mask scene, I don't think it might hold up well. It depends. I don't know. We're lucky we're watching this in 2024 and this is a 2020 movie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does look like the way it pops and stuff. It does look like there was like a balloon underneath the mask, and then
Hmm.
they just popped it. Maybe that's how they did it and stuff like that. Like it doesn't look that, aesthetically pleasing, I guess,
Hmm. Hmm.
or like
Hmm.
real. But
Hmm.
yeah, once again, like I wasn't really disturbed by the unrealness of the face.
Yeah. Now, my interpretation of the mask scene, by the way, I do like the mask scene. It's my thing is like Colin is saying, no, Toss, if you're going to be in my head, you have to accept all the horrible things you did. When I killed my girlfriend and her father, that was you. When you had sex with your ex-husband and you didn't like it, that was you. When you killed an innocent lawyer, that was you. Like he was sort of like making Toss have to inhabit the bodies of other people that she forced to do horrible things. So that's how I interpreted that scene.
Mm. Yeah, I do also think like there was some that guilt in it, you know. I don't
Hmm.
know if it was like Colin making her see things or if it was like her own unconscious, but it was definitely like some sort of, psychological thing going on where she had to face like the fact that it was her all along, like everything that she did.
Yeah. No, I think in that scene, Colin and Toss were one, and he was now entering her mind because that's when we first see in the images like Toss's ex-husband and her son. So then that's when Colin said, "Aha, that's what you care about. That's who you actually love." And that makes us move to the last scene. So basically, Colin finds out that Toss has an ex-husband and a son she cares about, quote unquote, and so Colin goes up to the house where her family or ex family lives, whatever. She sees her son hanging out in the driveway, and he's like, what is that? What do you have? And he's like, a map. And Colin says, you know what? I think I know you from somewhere. But then Tassa's ex husband comes out and says, hey, boy, come inside. And, later that night, Colin comes to the house and basically barges in and puts a gun to her ex-husband's head and says, do you know me? Do you know who I am? Do you know what your wife does? Do you know your wife is like a parasite, like a worm that gets into your cat and that makes your cat do crazy things? And you don't know if your cat is doing it or the parasite, which I can say this is once again about this film. If you like this film, that part you'll appreciate. But if you don't like this film, you will say that is the most cringiest dialogue I've ever heard. It was really, really bad. It was either bad or good, depending how you feel. For me, it was bad, but it still didn't take me out of the film. It was just a very shitty, shitty piece of dialogue. Because if I was Colin, I wouldn't say anything like that. I was like, bruh, get your wife out of my head. I want to go back to my normal life. But anyway, end of the movie is this. The end of the movie is like Colin has the gun to Toss's ex-husband's head, and he's like, come out, bitch." And then Toss eventually comes out. Toss and Colin have a face-to-face in Colin's mind, I guess. And Colin is like, "Is this what you want? Why did you make me do this? Why did you make me kill people?" And then Toss is like, "I didn't do anything, Colin. It was all you," which was the ultimate gaslighting. It's like, "I didn't do anything, Colin. You killed her. You got the gun to your head." And then Toss is like, "I'll kill him, bitch. I swear I will." And then Toss is like, "Do it." Like Emperor Palpatine, do it. And so basically Colin tries to like shoot no Colin no all right, Tassa's ex-husband gets up, tries to fight Colin, but Colin ends up killing the ex-husband, right? And Colin is like breathing hella hard, but then he gets stabbed in the neck by the boy, and then he ends up shooting the person that stabbed him, which is the boy. But then we see that it's actually Toss holding the gun, and she fires multiple times at her own son. She kills her own son, and then the little boy, as he's dying on the floor, he says, "Pull me out," which goes to show that even the boy got kidnapped, got an implant put in him, and now he's being used to get Toss out of the mission. And we find out that the person who was controlling her own son was her boss. Her boss kidnapped her own son, put herself in his mind so that Toss could get killed in Colin's body and then leave into the real world again in her own body. Wow. And then, yeah, so the end of the film is, Toss waking up, going through the psychological test again, and then it's over. How did you feel about the ending and all of that?
Yeah, that's definitely a crazy ending.
Hmm.
I'm glad that like the ending didn't disappoint me. about like the dialogue of Colin when he's like trying to, putting a gun against Tassa's husband's
Hmm.
head. It was a bit cringe because I was like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, what is all this worm stuff? Like, because once again, like, I also thought, like, okay, if I was Toss or if I was Colin, I would probably say, like, this is your wife does, this is your wife did. Like, I would, say all the shit that he doesn't probably know,
Hmm.
try to hurt him or something. But yeah, and then like when Toss comes out in Colin's head, it was like, okay, she doesn't really even care about like her ex-wife, her ex-husband and her son because she's so dedicated to the mission or her job. It's like, okay, like and she's like convinced that she's not the one who's doing all the killings. It's still Colin, or like either, I mean, she's lying to herself and also like trying to still convince Colin to finish the mission, because after he kills the husband, we still see like Taz trying to kill herself or kill Colin, but of course she doesn't make it, and that's when like the son comes and stabs her. So it's like, and then like the son ends up being the boss lady. Like that was definitely like, okay, like the boss lady saying, I'm not gonna lose the best assassin I have, I'm gonna get this right and do it. So it's like all loyalty to the company and to the job. And it's like, I don't know, it's like now that Toss was back at her job and she came back, it was like she wasn't that disturbed about what happened. It's like she was now finally free of that burden or something like that. And then, she sees the red butterfly again, and she says like, oh, I caught this when I was young and I framed it. But this time she doesn't say I feel guilty about it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's like, okay, like now she doesn't have any really like human thing left inside of her, and she can like completely do her job or something.
Hmm. Yeah, the ending left me, it was satisfying, but also unsatisfying because I liked the horror of it all, like, with Colin slashing at the guy and the blood everywhere and stuff like that. But it didn't make sense to me because there was no inclination at all for me throughout the film that Toss hated her own family that much and wanted an excuse to kill her family. Now, going back to all of this at the very beginning, if you watch it again, maybe you could see inclinations or hints that Toss hated her family, and basically her feeling like they were holding her back. But the thing is, Toss already divorced her ex-husband. She wasn't living at home. Like, I think at a point she even said to, or no, maybe her ex-husband said to her like, hey, maybe you should move back in or something like that. But Toss was like, hey, I just need to go back to work or whatever, like the next day. So there was no reason for her to want to kill her family. And, at the end, when she's like doing the psychological test, she seems a bit happier that now her family is gone, because she's doing the test all over again. And she says about the butterfly, like, I feel guilty that I killed the butterfly. Wait, but you don't feel guilty you killed your family? Like, what? That's what's confusing.
No,
One more
but
thing.
she doesn't say she felt guilty in the last scene. She says it in the beginning, but she doesn't say it in the last scene.
Ah, okay, all right, okay, okay, all right, okay. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. There's just something a bit strange about that. My guy Nelson Moreno left a comment. He said, "This director who made Possessor made a film called Infinity Pool. In my opinion, that movie was pretentious trash with some interesting body horror. Lame psychedelic movie. I haven't seen this one, but it sounds the same." I feel you, Nelson. I mean, this film might not be for everybody. This is the first film I've seen from this guy, at least as far as I know. I generally enjoyed it, but Nelson, you have to remember, I have bad taste. I really liked the movie Love, so don't trust anything I say. Go ahead. You got anything?
I mean, yeah, like I think like in the beginning and throughout the movie, she was sort of lying to herself because like if you're a mom, or if you're, let's say, like if you're a single person, I'm not saying like single people are more heartless or anything like that, but if you're a mom or if you're a wife, it might be harder for you to hurt a man or a child because you are able to empathize with them more. So I think that's something that was holding her back in her work, and she did like whatever she could do to succeed at her work because it sort of became her life.
Hmm.
I think because she had like trauma because of her work, obviously, because it's such a
Hmm.
horrible job. And at the same time, like even though she wanted to go back to her family in the beginning and stuff like that, I think she was just like lying to herself and trying to be like a normal woman, normal human being with a family and a kid and a husband, but
Hmm.
she wasn't able to do that. And once she realized that and called back into work after like one night of staying with her family, I think like, yeah, that was like what she truly wanted, to get rid of her family. Maybe not in the way that happened, but you know, yeah, like she just wanted to get rid of that burden that made her feel empathy.
I got you. I got you. Maybe I would say maybe, because I think if that was the case, after she got stabbed and killed her son and also her ex-husband, she would have just blew her brains out, and that would have made that statement clear. But I didn't get that at all. So there's really no amount of explanation that could make me understand why she wanted to kill her family. Like I get where you're coming from, or other reviewers may come from, but even though she was dying, the moment should have been clear for her. Okay, now I'm free to kill myself, but she didn't do it. So
Sorry. Yeah, yeah, because like there's no reason to kill herself because she wants to go back to work. Like
yeah,
she
but I
wants
mean,
to
kill
keep on
herself as in
doing.
kill the host so she can leave the body.
Mm, yeah, I don't know about that one. Yeah, like this movie is sort of messy like that, where, like you said, some of the themes are left like just like that,
Yeah, yeah.
out in the open, and they're not like fully, explored or finished or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So going back over to, I guess the big theme of this film is like control and controlling the mind and body. And there was a scene when Colin was at the house of Rita and he's watching like some documentary about humans back in the day who put a microchip in the brain of a bull and they were able to control the bull through a remote control. I think that's like the biggest theme of this film. It's like, okay, with certain technology, like we are able literally to control people, right? Like with media and things like that. But also literally we could do that too, with if we actually had this technology. Now, how much are we willing to give up of ourselves to be a part of a company that will pay us a lot of money to do that sort of stuff? And also, these companies are, the only way they can make money is on poor people having ignorance, basically having their minds be controlled by those who know more than them. You get what I'm saying? So, it's like Taz is like a parasite, and also a paramour or an example of how capitalism is dependent on poor people to do the biddings, in the will of those who have more power or knowledge, right? And that's all I got. That's really all I got. I mean, this is going to be a short review because the film is a bit messy, though it is entertaining. But I think the theme of the film is basically into that. It's summarized in that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. If this sort of technology did exist, it would be for, big companies like this one that want to like kill each other or kill the competition or something like that for their own benefits. And the people who would get used in this like process would be the poor people, and also like the people who would do this job might probably be like people who are not poor but not rich, so like middle class,
Hmm.
but they still want more out of work or money or something like that, so they would maybe get into the job because they're somewhat educated, like
Yeah.
middle class, they go to college and stuff like that, so
Hmm.
they have the some sort of, talent or education to do those things,
Hmm.
and they would use it against the poor and for these companies and these like higher powers that rule us.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, I feel like that's also somewhat like the message that this movie is trying to give. But there
Hmm.
are also like other interesting like, themes like how we discussed in the beginning, gender. Like why
Hmm.
are these two people who are in this company women, or
Hmm.
also like privacy as well. I would
Hmm.
say with Colin's job and also like what Toss is doing.
Yeah.
Obviously, like our privacy is getting so like less and less in the ways that we don't know that this could be something that could happen.
Yeah. But even with those themes, they sort of seem so far and spread apart and not interconnected enough to make it very, thought provoking in a way. They're just sort of put on screen and being there. And plus, the film is somewhat confusing, right? Because there's a scene where Ava's father is in like a wheelchair and Toss is like standing in front of him. Like I was very confused by that scene. How do you interpret that?
I don't know, maybe that's finally like that happened in the very last parts of the movie, right?
No,
Like
no,
after.
that was right when Colin was getting the implant put back in his head when his friend shot him in the back and was trying to explain you can get out of this.
Oh, then maybe that was just Colin trying to show Toss that this is what she did and this is
Mm,
not what he did, because it was Toss standing in front of the father and not Colin.
okay, but even still, it's the movie's a bit all over the place. But even with all of these flaws, I can't tell myself that I didn't like this film. You get what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
still enjoyed it, even though it had it's wild. It's just it's sort of throw everything against the wall. Great cinematography, great acting. Great body horror and imaging and done with the lights and everything like that. I like it. It's just it's kind of bad the more you talk about it. The more you talk about it, the worse it becomes. But if you just turn it on and look at it, it's kind of cool, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I liked talking about this movie, and I actually explored more talking about the movie
Hmm.
than I was just like watching it. But I guess like the part that gets a bit bad as you talk about it is the dialogue and
Hmm.
maybe like the balloon scene, I would say. That one, like some scenes that get a bit cheesy as you talk about it, but I would say like overall, yeah, it's like a bit of a like indie horror movie a little bit. I don't
Hmm.
know.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, what's your overall score for it?
I think my overall score is 7.5.
I'm gonna give it like a solid eight, solid eight, just for being a good horror movie. Because at the end of the day, like it's a horror movie, and horror is not known for being a genre that has very thought provoking films or very in depth films, even though they should. And my favorite film is a horror film. But for being a horror film where I have low expectations, this surpasses the bar, even if it's not as great as it should be. It just needs a bit tweaking, you know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like execution could have been better at certain times. And
Hmm.
also like the explanation or like the, I don't know, revealing of the themes in the movie might have been better executed, let's say that.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, that's the part where it's lacking, but also this is like a new director, I think. He only has like 3 movies.
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll see something better from this guy in another times, because I feel like he certainly has some potential to make good movies.
Definitely, definitely. Well, we'll wrap up this review. Do you have anything else you want to add on?
No, I think we said all of it. But yeah, if you want to see like a sci fi psychological horror movie, I would recommend this.
I would recommend it too, but don't go into it thinking it's like earth-shatteringly good. It's just all right, but it's better than most horror films, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it somewhat starts a conversation, I would say.
Definitely starts the conversation and has memorable moments, at least good or bad. But yeah, this has been episode 43, Simon Acting Movie Reviews. Shout out to Nelson Moreno. Shout out to Matt Villainy. Send more suggestions. We will be covering them, and they are on the way. Subscribe to Simon Hill Keeps a Trail. Also, subscribe to Cinema Crossroads on Spotify to hear these episodes and leave comments. Let us know what you think. Peace.